We're going to call this June meeting of the Tennessee Real Estate Commission to order at about 8:30 a.m. First order of business is the public disclaimer and roll call. Ms. Baker.
Thank you, Chair Diaz. Notice of the June meeting of the Tennessee Real Estate Commission, including date and time, has been noticed on the Tennessee Real Estate Commission website since September 15th, 2023. Additionally, this month's agenda has been posted on the website since Wednesday, June 5th. Individuals who wish to make a public comment on an item listed on the posted agenda during the scheduled public comment period will need to sign in on the provided sign-in sheet or by placing their name in the chat box online. It is requested that comments be limited to 3 minutes out of respect for others. Anyone joining us virtually, if you could put your computers and whatever devices you are using on mute, and we will call upon you when it's time to unmute your device. Thank you. I know. Only 3 can be on at a time.
Roll call when you're ready, Ms. Baker.
Thank you. I will now call the roll. Chair Diaz,
Here.
Vice Chair Ferris, Commissioner Moffitt,
Here.
Commissioner Begley, Commissioner Torbett,
Here.
Commissioner Gwynn,
Here.
Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Commissioner Tucker,
Here.
and Commissioner Gahn.
Here.
Chair Diaz, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Next is the prayer and the pledge. Leading us in the prayer will be Commissioner Torbett, and Commissioner Smith will lead us in the pledge. Commissioner Torbett.
Bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I thank you for the health and safety of everyone who's here today. I ask that you give us wisdom and discernment in the cases before us and help us to honor you in all that we do. In Jesus' name, amen. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you both. Next item is the approval of the agenda. Is there any changes or amendments to the agenda?
Yes, Chair Diaz, if we could remove candidate D in the informal appearances section, they no longer need to appear before the commission.
Thank you. Any other changes? Hearing none, is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Torbett. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Commissioners were provided with the minutes of the May meeting. Are there any amendments or changes to the minutes of last month's meeting? Hearing none, is there a motion? We got a motion to approve by Commissioner Tucker, seconded by Commissioner Gahn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion. Commissioner Gwynn abstains. That motion passes on a 7-0 vote.
And I should abstain also.
We have 2 abstentions, Commissioner Baker and Commissioner Gwynn. So that'd be a little
Can
bit.
you repeat the 2 abstentions?
Commissioner Bagley and
Okay.
Commissioner Gwynn.
Thank you.
Next will be the informal appearances. Commissioner Baker, please verify that the candidates and their brokers are online.
Okay. For those appearing for informal appearances, I'm going to call your name. If you could turn on your camera and then just respond by saying present and then put your camera, your mic back on mute. The first candidate that we will see is candidate A, Charlotte Perilla, and her principal broker, Bridget Chamberlain. Are you all both here?
Present.
Present.
Thank you.
Yes.
Next, we have Chandler Mize and Craig Mullins. Are you all both here?
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Okay,
Yep, present.
thank you. Lastly, we have candidate C, Stacy Cooper Caluzzi, excuse me for my mispronunciation, and principal broker Robert Brindley. Are you all both present?
I'm here. It's a Galuzzi, and
Galuzzi?
yes, I'm here.
Okay, and your principal
Yes.
broker?
I sent him the link and I sent him a reminder text. He might be having a little technical difficulties, but he said he'll be here.
Okay, well, we'll give him a moment and we'll go through the other two candidates first.
Thank you.
So first we have Charlotte Parilla and her principal broker, Bridget Chamberlain. First, I want to apologize for Charlotte. She was supposed to appear before us last month in Jackson. However, due to technical issues, we weren't able to hear her, so I do want to apologize on the record to her. She has not taken the affiliate broker exams yet. She is before us today due to a misdemeanor theft. Her statement and letters of recommendation can be found on your iPads.
Thank you, Ms. Baker.
Charlotte and Bridget, if you could unmute yourselves, please.
So for all the candidates and the brokers online today, the way it's going to work is we're going to have the candidates give a brief statement about the circumstances that caused them to be before us today. And commissioners will have an opportunity to ask questions if they have any. And then we'll turn to the broker, and the broker could explain why they're interested in having this particular candidate join their firm or any other information they wish to provide. And commissioners will again have an opportunity to ask questions of the broker. After all questions have been asked, the commissioners will vote, and that will be it. That will be the end of your application. So Ms. Padilla, why don't you go ahead and explain the circumstances of your of appearing before us today?
Good morning. On your iPads, I believe you have the description from the court. Back in 2018, I was at Walmart with some teens, and I sent them out to the car, and I went through the checkout line. I was stopped as I was walking out of Walmart and by the security, and they asked me to come by, and there was some stickers, some of the price tags that had been swapped, and I did not see it, but they stopped me. They made a complaint with the police. The police came. The police officer that was there was very nice, very calm, said, you know, this isn't a big deal. It's like a traffic ticket. You just have to go to court and you'll be fine. Well, it was a little bit more. It was a little bit more than that. When I went to court, I pled guilty because there was nothing. I didn't bring an attorney or anything. I just took it as it was just like a traffic violation, and I would go to court, plead guilty, and get some sort of punishment for it. I did a year of probation and did the classes. I have the certificate for that as well. And that's it. Do you have any questions?
Commissioners, any questions? Hearing none. Ms. Bridget, your turn.
Hi, guys. How are you? In all my years of being a principal broker, this is my first time to find myself here. So this is new for me. Charlotte, I've known for a number of years. I've been in real estate since '02, but I've known Charlotte even prior to that. She worked with me at Avon Products, Inc., where I was her district sales manager, and she did a fine job. She's a great person, and she approached me about getting a real estate license. And so, of course, I met with her because I think she's fabulous. She's bilingual too, which I think is a big need in our community. And so, yeah, I met with her, and I think she's great. And then she shared with me, you know, what was going on and the problem that she might have in obtaining her real estate license. So she asked me if I would sit before you guys today on her behalf, and so I am here. She explained the situation to me. I have seen letters of recommendation from her pastor and others in the community verifying, you know, that she really is still a fantastic person and does good things in the universe. So I'm here just to kind of say that I'm willing to supervise her based on what I know. If you are willing to provide her with her opportunity to get her real estate license.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Bridget? I get the sense you're ready to vote. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Torbett, seconded by Commissioner Gahn. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Ms. Padilla. You're welcome to stay and listen, or you're welcome to go ahead and get about your day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Baker, candidate B.
Thank you. Next, we have Chandler Mize and Craig Mullins. Mr. Mize has passed the state and national exams. He's before us today due to a misdemeanor theft. His statement and letter of recommendations can be found on the iPads.
Thank you. Mr.
If-
Mize, go ahead and unmute yourself and describe the circumstances that make you appear before us today.
Hello. Yeah, it was, my name is Chandler. My circumstances were pretty similar to Charlotte's. I was at a Walmart in 2015, almost 9 years ago. And when I was a teenager, I'm just going to be honest, I struggled with addiction. I was under the influence. I don't really recall much from that evening. I just know that I left without paying for things. I think it was $32 worth of merchandise. So I was arrested that night. I pled guilty to the theft, and I was also charged with public intoxication. They ended up dropping that charge, and I pled guilty to theft under 500. I did 13 8-hour days of community service and paid all court costs, restitution, did all that. And then I believe it was 6 or 7 days after I was arrested, I did a couple of days in jail. But after I was arrested, I immediately checked into inpatient rehab, did 60 days in rehab, did another 6 months in a halfway house after that. And I've been a part of a 12-step program ever since. And I believe in 6 days, I'll have 8.5 years sober from all drugs and alcohol. And can gladly say I'm not the same person today as I was when I acted back in 2015. So, yeah, if any questions about that or my addiction, I'd be happy to answer.
Commissioners, any questions? Hearing none. Mr. Mullins, go ahead and tell us why you would like Mr. Mize to join your firm.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to talk. It's also my first time to be here. So, yeah, short and sweet. Chandler, honestly, just a great guy. And we're here talking about the real estate stuff, but the work he does in the community with addiction, giving back to that community, really impressive. I've got a bunch of mutual connections with him from a previous client that I used to help. They were a house flipper. So I know a ton of people that he worked with there. That's how I met him originally, probably 4 years ago or so. I think it was 2020. Really impressed with him then. Work ethic, like I said, nobody there at that company could have anything bad to say about him. They talk about him glowingly. Super sharp guy, honest, charismatic dude. I think he'll be a great realtor. Put in the effort. It'll be a great addition to our team if you guys allow him to join us. Any questions on anything that I've said, or can I help clarify anything?
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Mullins or Mr. Mize, if you've thought of any? All right, hearing none, I sense we're ready to vote. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Commissioner Smith to approve this candidate, seconded by Commissioner Moffitt. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Mize, on this and on your sobriety. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Baker, candidate C.
Lastly, for informal appearances, we have Stacy Galuzzi and principal broker Robert Brindell. Mr. Brindell, are you here? Brinley? Is there a Robert Brindley?
I see a
Ms.
Bob.
Galuzzi, do we have the misspelling or the improper principal broker on our form? Because we don't see your principal broker, or he or she must be present. You're on mute if you're speaking. We're unable to hear you.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
No, I don't see him either. He said, I'm assuming he's having technical difficulties. He said he was going to be here. Oh, someone just signed in. Is that him? No? Okay, I don't know. Can I still present my case or
Unfortunately, your
set up another?
principal broker has to be present. What we can do is go through our waiver request if the commission agrees, and then see if he appears by the end of our waiver request. Is that what you would like to do? Or we can present you next month with your principal broker.
Let's go ahead and do the request and maybe he'll come in.
Okay, very
Thank
good.
you.
We'll do our waiver request if the commission is agreeable to that.
We'll do that. That's fine.
Okay. I will present our next waiver request, or our first waiver request, excuse me. Ms. Galuzzi, if you could mute your mic, please. Thank you. Our first is Jillian Van Neer. Ms. Van Neer is seeking a waiver of E&O and penalties due to medical care. She is requesting to retest and reapply and to remove the revocation. She was broker released in July of 2020. She did not renew her E&O insurance for 23-24. She did not retire her license once she was broker released. Her name remained in an active status, so it required E&O insurance. And her statement can be found on your iPads.
So Ms. Baker, go through that timeline again. She was broker released in 22?
Yes, July of 2022.
Okay. She didn't retire her license, so when did her license expire?
Her license expired, I believe it's on our iPads. Let me pull that up. Just a moment, please.
All right. You're right, it is. March of 24.
Thank you.
Okay, so she hasn't been expired as a licensee for very long.
Correct. However, she accumulated E&O insurance civil penalties due to her being in active status and not affiliating with the firm and not putting her license in retirement.
And there's no indication of it, like an administrative snafu where
No,
she put it in retirement?
no.
Okay.
She does have a statement that references a medical concern or a medical issue that she was experiencing, and that does appear on your iPad.
Commissioners, any discussion about this application?
Do you guys email when this happens? I see in her note that she.
We mail to what we have on file.
So mail, but not email.
Correct.
Okay.
Question. She's got a long dissertation here about cluster boxes and a new build community and all that. Is that accurate or not?
I
Or
can't
you don't have any-
confirm that. What we do now, because she would have received a letter last year, what we do now is when mail is returned, we do mark the file that it's returned. But during this time, the mail was not marked because she would have received something last year that she was in violation of E&O.
So she's got a license in Florida and Arizona as well?
I
What she
believe,
says.
Ms. Torbett, if you could turn off.
Sorry.
Please be mindful, we can only have 4 mics on at a time. With that being said, I can't verify that if she has an Arizona or a Florida license.
Also, Commissioner Gwynn, copies of the letter are sent to their, one sent to their home address, one is sent to the firm, and then one is also sent to the principal broker at the firm.
And the $1,100 is,
That is a civil penalty. I can't notate it exactly like Anna can and recite the number. However, she's fined for every 30-day period she is without E&O insurance.
okay. And is that the cap, the 1,100? Mm-hmm. She hit the ceiling? Okay. Any thoughts, commissioners? Or floor is open for a motion? Anybody?
Well, I'm torn
Okay.
because
Can you turn on your mic, please?
these new mics are going to take some adjusting. I'm torn because it seems like a miscommunication, but she also has a license in other states where I feel like maybe she should be aware of how the process works. So, I don't know. And I'm sympathetic for medical issues. Anybody have any thoughts?
I agree with you. I am pulled a little bit when she says she will retest and reapply, which she obviously has to do. And that's not an easy thing to go through.
So the retest and reapply, is that because her license was revoked? Or is that a time?
And now expired,
It is
although
now-
it hasn't been expired for a year. It's only
Okay.
been expired for
3
3 or
months.
4 months, yeah.
So she's not at the point where she needs to.
She wouldn't have to retest, she's not a retest and reapply candidate, just
Right.
because she's within that 1-year time period of her license expiring.
Okay. So it's just a disposition of the penalty.
Correct.
She's in the time period of the expiring license, but what about if it's revoked? Because it's been, am I reading
She
it
would
right?
have
It's
to,
been
yeah,
revoked?
she would have to pay the fee to reinstate her license.
So if it's revoked, you don't retest and
Correct,
reapply.
because she's in that 1-year period timeframe. And there's an outstanding civil penalty due to lack of E&O insurance.
For, if you're revoked, you do have to retest and reapply. That's something that the commission has the statutory authority to waive, but she's saying will do that. But you also have the ability, under the medical waiver section, to waive certain fees related to it.
But typically, if it's revoked, they do have to reapply and retest, correct?
Correct, they do, for
So if you have a license that's been revoked and you were willing to retest and basically go through the whole process just like you're a new agent, correct? Is that in effect what she's doing? Does it say on the form that if you've had a license previously and have outstanding payments due that will not let you test again?
So-
I mean, is there
So she wouldn't be able to retest and reapply until the amount here is satisfied. So if you have, like, for example, an outstanding civil penalty that hasn't been paid, and we've gone through that, you wouldn't be able to retest, reapply, renew your license, whatever it is.
So you can't rack up fees and then not pay them and say, I'm going to go through the whole process again to get rid of those fees, correct?
The fee still exists, right?
Okay.
Make a motion. That we reduce the fee to $500. Let
Second.
her reapply and retest.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Bagley to reduce the fee to $500 and allow her to retest and reapply, seconded by Commissioner Gwynn. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Mr. Blaylock is next.
Next, we have William Blaylock. Mr. Blaylock seeks waiver of penalties due to medical care. He wishes to complete his CE and return to active status. His license was retired properly, however, he did not pay the associated renewal fee. His license was retired in February 2023. As you guys know, we'll have new rules soon that would address something of this nature.
So again, this is a question of reducing the penalty or not, but then he would have to complete his education and return to active status.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioners, any thoughts? Or a motion?
Is it the same thing? No E&O, or are the penalties for something else?
One moment, let me. No, he was retired properly, so he did not have to have E&O insurance. I would have to look into what these penalties are for. If you would give me a moment, I can pull that up.
I mean, he's less than a month away from his license being expired for a year, but you said it was retired.
Correct.
I'll go ahead and make a motion while we wait to find out what these are for. I make a motion to approve his request to waive the penalties.
So just wipe it out.
Just wipe it out. Well, it seems like he was in the hospital and rehab for months and months and months and months.
So I have a motion to reduce to zero the penalty for Mr. Blaylock.
Second.
A
What,
motion was-
is there a CE attached to that?
It says he wishes to complete his CE, so how much is that?
It would be 16 hours.
Then yes, attach that.
So-
Okay.
16 hours of continuing education to be completed. Is there a deadline if it's in retired status? Does he have to complete it before a year passed?
Typically, or I can't say typically, the new rules that will hopefully go into effect on July 1 would require that completion of CE is completed prior to being reinstated as an agent.
Okay, well, we can just say it that way. I mean, I guess it's up to his time frame, right? There's no deadline that he has to complete that. He just has to complete the 16 hours.
Well, he does have less than a month till his license expires, and you can't renew it until your CE's done.
It's expired.
Next
It
month.
just hasn't been expired for a year.
Oh, that's right. Thank you.
I'll say within 60 days. How's that?
So if I'm hearing correctly, the motion is to waive the fees and to allow for him to retest, no, excuse me, to allow for him to complete 16 hours of CE. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Within
So-
60 days.
So, Ms. Tucker, that was your second?
Second.
Okay. So just again, restate the motion. The motion is to reduce the penalty to zero and allow this applicant to complete his CE within 60 days and have his license returned to active status. Correct?
I thought I heard Commissioner Tucker say before his license was reinstated. Did I mishear?
She did say that. Before his license can be reinstated.
He must complete 16 hours of continuing education.
Yes.
So you're going to leave it open-ended?
I
I mean, we don't have a time frame, do we? Like, we're not working against the clock for 30 days.
I mean, it's been a year, so it's another.
Yeah.
So.
So
if-
take
if-
that 60 days off.
Okay,
And
so
just say before he is reinstated, he has to complete 16 hours of continuing education.
Okay.
Did you figure out what the penalties are for?
No, because I was listening to you. I believe it's an expiration, but I can't confirm until I look that up. But we do have a motion and a second,
We
I
do?
do believe.
We do. So, motion, waive the fees and allow him to retest, to complete his CE and have his license return to active status.
I believe that's what, yes,
So, all
yes.
right, so that was done by Ms. Torbett, seconded by Commissioner Tucker. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Mr. Salisbury is next.
Okay, for Mr. Salisbury, he seeks a waiver of penalties and a waiver of retesting. Mr. Salisbury's, his license expired September 8th, 2022. Since his license has been expired over a year, he would be a retest and reapply applicant. Please note that the doctor's letter and his package is dated October 21st, and his license expired September 8th, 2022.
Yeah, no, you're not the, okay.
We have a question.
Yes,
So,
sir.
on this candidate, were there 2 pages of stuff or were there 4 pages of stuff?
Let's see.
We have several blank pages on our iPad.
Oh, well, that's not supposed to be there.
We have 12, it says 12 out of 12, but I think there's only
It appears
like 3
that,
pages of things.
it appears not everything transferred. He did submit several doctor's notes dated from 2021.
Oh, I see.
All right, so
Confirming.
his medical records are from before his license expired in '22,
Correct,
and he has been on an expired license since then.
So it picks back up.
Broker expired
correct,
for more than a year.
correct.
Okay.
I wasn't able to see from the medical records that he provided that there were any limitations on him.
It didn't appear so. I can pull it up and read it to you. One moment.
If you guys have access to your email, the attachments in your email do show up.
It did come,
So council is telling us we can use our devices if we need to.
Well, it's a public record, so yeah, if you want to look at the document from your email, it's the same thing. I mean, I would probably.
So this was, okay. I mean, he gave it to the public record, so I guess I can say it publicly, can't I? So this is for a COVID positive test, and that he said was, I guess he was still suffering from lingering symptoms.
That's what his statement says.
That's what his statement says. And he's contending that somehow prevented him from maintaining his license.
Yes,
Okay.
about a year later or so, yes.
Okay.
I pulled up the email and I still see a bunch of blank pages.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
I can show
Is,
you.
is there anything that said he had COVID? I mean,
Yes.
the only thing I saw was a cancer screening test and,
It says that he had the antibodies for COVID, yes. But it doesn't go into his statement as it pertains to,
memory loss.
correct.
So, I mean, there's a lot of test results in here. Steve, I'm sorry you can't see it, but there's a lot of test results in here where they come in at normal levels or maybe, levels where they want to monitor or things like that, but nothing that says, again, that attributes to memory loss or inability to perform his daily life functions. So,
We don't see anything in reference to that. And can I bring you this computer if you would like to see it?
yeah.
I mean, I've got two pieces of paper that say, cancer screening
Yes, he was screened.
but is what, you have any more than that?
No,
What's
sir.
here? Okay,
Not that it pertains to the severity of his statement.
right.
The floor is open for a motion.
So can we talk about what he's asking for? Waiver of penalties and waiver of retesting.
Correct.
But his license expired in 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the first contact we've had from him since his license expired?
That's my understanding. I would need to verify that.
Did he volunteer any information about him?
The information that was volunteered is in his statement.
Is in his statement? Okay.
But his statement's dated December 14th, 23.
So he contacted us originally in December, so about 14 months after his license expired, but he didn't provide the medical statements until recently, which is why it's being presented before you today, because a medical statement or some type of medical waiver or something from a physician is required to present a medical waiver to you all.
And the medical file is from 21,
That is correct.
before his license expired.
That is correct.
Again, I'm sympathetic to anyone that has been sick, but I don't feel like we have the documentation showing that sickness is what caused this lapse. So I'll make a motion to deny his request.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Commissioner Torbett to deny this waiver request, seconded by Commissioner Gwynn. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. We will go back to informal appearances for a second, just to see if Principal Broker Robert Brindley is available. Robert Brindley, are you here? Ms. Galuzzi, unfortunately, since your principal broker isn't here, we'll have to move you till August to appear before the commission. I'm sorry.
All right, well, thank you anyway for your time.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is our Education Director's Report. Mr. Ross, good morning to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Happy summertime. And the cicadas are gone, so that's good. I present to you today the June education report. I have reviewed all the new providers, the courses, and the instructors for today's report, and I present them to you for your approval this morning, J1 through J32.
Are there commissioners that wish to pull any of these courses for further discussion? If not, is there a motion?
Second.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Torbett, seconded by Commissioner Tucker, courses J1 through J32. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Mr. White, you got 3 instructors for us?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe there are 4.
4?
Please review those, and they are presented for your approval as well this morning.
Commissioners have questions for Mr. White about these instructor applicants. Hearing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Smith, to approve these instructor applicants, seconded by Commissioner Moffett. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Mr. White, do you have any other business for us?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I do. I believe you have before you the topics for the TREC core course for the next cycle, 2025-2026. If you would, turn your attention to that. A little background on this, but every 2 years around this time, then the commission determines if they want to add or take anything out or continue with the current TREC core course and approve that. Now, every 2 years, we've reached that time again. We do this to give the providers a chance to develop and put together their next core course, in this case, the 25-26. Through the years, the core course has several topics, and keeping in mind this is a topical outline. This is not a detailed, you got to include this and that and the other. It rather gives the onus to the providers to put together their core course, and then these are then reviewed by the education director and then presented to you at monthly meetings for approval as courses for various providers. So this gives them the time now, if it's approved, to develop and put together a course to be submitted to us in January of this coming year, 2025. In preparation for this, the executive director, Denise, and our administrative manager, Ms. Rana Womack, attended, actually it was an education course for TREC Core put on by 10 realtors, Misty Woodford, she's an instructor, but the course was actually held and hosted by Jenner, the Greater Nashville Association of Realtors. So we attended that last week. It was very interesting. The course itself was put together, drawn up by John Giffen. John Giffen, in my estimation, was probably the greatest or one of the best education instructors, providers that I've got to know. And he worked with former Commissioner and Director Marcia Franks. But this gentleman put together a course that was presented again last week, and we heard some things, and we thought we might want to update just a little bit some of the current topics. So we've added just a few things to what you see today. And those would include the commission's role to protect Tennesseans and empower professionals. We added a little caveat on 120 hours CE required for new brokers under the rules. Releasing of earnest money interpleader rule. Let's see, also under contracts, we sort of made that clear that there are a lot of disclosure, both law and rules, that need to be included in any discussion of disclosure. And I think that pretty much takes it up. Now, keeping in mind too, you've really got two courses here. You've got a residential course and a commercial course. So when I review these monthly, generally speaking, they're going to be 90% of the time it's going to be a residential course, but there's also a commercial course that can be provided and reviewed, and it's also listed here. I assume you have it before you. So that's the background. Unless Director Baker has anything else to say, we'll let you review that, and subject to your approval, we'll go forward.
So does the new core course anticipate the new rule changes that we're going to be considering in the coming months, or the disposition of the National Association of Realtors and the compensation question, how that's going to be handled going forward? Is that something that would want to be included here, or is that?
The
Yeah.
commission really doesn't deal with compensation. However, we did add disclosures to the contract. I think knowing that disclosures are required is important in that contract section, so we did definitively add that to the course.
And to add to that, these are topics. It's not an exhaustive outline, but it gives the provider who will be putting together and developing their course, they'll probably want to take in consideration that new rule and add that in under TREC Law Rules Policy Update, Topic 1. So that being said, it does give them the breadth and width to be able to add and do things as they put together their course. And we don't want to bind them up too much because, as you know, things do change during a 2-year window. Some of those things are administrative that we handle through, like the TREC 1 form and so forth. These are things and status things that aren't necessarily a part of this, although it may be discussed. So just wanting you to know, this is a general, good, tight, topical outline to give the providers a chance to put together something that would be meaningful. And also, you've got, every 2 years, there's 16 hours of CE that's required. This is the 6-hour mandatory course. There's 10 other hours that the folks can look at online and determine certain courses that they want to take, an elective. So we've got electives, but this is the mandatory core. So at any rate, that just for your knowledge, it works pretty seamlessly. Once approved, then we'll put it on our website as approved, and then the providers will have something to go by, a template to put together the course.
So you want us to approve this outline today?
I would present it for your approval this morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. However, we're welcome to discussion.
Commissioners, any questions for Mr. White or Ms. Baker?
I make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve this residential core course 25-26 by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Moffitt. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Will there be a separate commercial core topics, or is that everything you need from us?
That should be everything I need if you're essentially approving both these course, residential core and the commercial core as you see before you.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else for us, Mr. White?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. This is my birthday month. I've been here 25,567 days. You can do the math, but anyway.
I don't think,
Birthday month.
Thank you.
I don't think,
Your actual birthday,
Yes,
What's the
June
date?
3rd.
June 3rd.
Yeah,
So we missed it. Happy belated.
June
thank you
3rd
so
or
much.
30th?
June 3rd. Yeah.
okay. Next item on the agenda is Executive Director Report. Ms. Baker, what do you got for us?
Thank you. My report is before you today, and I have quite a few updates. So if you would allow me to have extended time to go through my updates, I would greatly appreciate it. First, I want to recognize TREC team members that are present today to observe this meeting, not only to observe the meeting, but to observe the rules that we will discuss later today, so we're able to implement those to the fullest extent. You will see on your iPads dates for 2025. We will not vote on those today. We will vote on those in August, but I do want you to be mindful of those dates. And if there are conflicting dates, if you could discuss that with me today or before the end of July, so we can see if we need to change those dates. We've been working around an NAR schedule, a Tennessee Realtor schedule, a RELO schedule, and so we think we've made all those considerations. So please consult your personal calendars and review those dates, and then we'll vote on the dates in August, during our August meeting. Are there any questions about that? Great. I am going to move up to our high school senior licensing program update. Thus far, we have 192 active participants. 38 are on the wait list and 95 signed up but not submit the required documentation. The participants that do not finish the program within a 6-month period will be removed from the program. Those students on the wait list will be allowed to participate in the program. However, they will only be given 3 months to finish the required coursework. This will allow us to reevaluate the program and the program's offerings for those students graduating in 2025. The wait list will open on or around October 31st, 2024. TREC and Kaplan will be hosting a webinar on June 14th for participants to inform them of exactly what's required to do to complete their real estate pre-licensing education and successfully pass their licensure exams. TREC has received supportive and negative comments from licensees about the program. I would like to go on the record to say TREC is utilizing this program to support Governor Lee's workforce development goals. This program will allow for approximately 200 high school seniors and recent graduates to participate in real estate pre-licensing education for free. The program aims to provide pre-licensing education and a pathway to licensure without compromising the standards that every affiliate broker in Tennessee must meet. I can assure members of the commission, as well as all licensees in Tennessee, TREC has not lessened any of the licensing requirements for participants in this program. The program exists merely to provide a conduit for pre-licensing education and a pathway to licensure and a career in Tennessee while maintaining the integrity of TREC's licensing authority. And I just would like to say that on the record because we received several comments. Lastly, I do want to thank Denny for his hard work in getting students signed up for the program. Are there any questions in reference to the high school licensure program?
Go ahead, Commissioner Wynn.
Are the 200 students, are they spread pretty equally throughout the state, or?
Yes, they make up each grand division. I believe we have, and this is off memory, 88 in West Tennessee, 46, 47 in Middle Tennessee, and I believe 67 in East Tennessee. I can look that up to give
No,
you
that's good.
exact numbers, but it is all across all 3 grand divisions.
Thanks.
So, and I think I know the answer to this, but so seniors that graduated this year,
Yes, in
they're still
2024.
they can participate.
Correct.
Through the summer, okay.
Correct. And I do want to go on the record of thanking Chair Diaz for doing many television interviews over the past 30 days. He's done about a half dozen of them across the state of Tennessee. I think you can speak to that. You've spoken to folks in Mountain City to Memphis for sure.
Yeah. The interviews are great, and the reporters were great, and they were very encouraging, very positive about the program. I noticed that when the interviews were aired, sometimes they weren't exactly on point about how things went, but otherwise the exposure for the program was excellent.
Yes, and we saw a direct correlation from the media that we did receive and signups within a 24-hour period. So if there was a story in Knoxville, we saw an uptick in Knoxville and East Tennessee. If there was a story in Chattanooga, the same thing. The first news story was in Chattanooga, and so the first 12 applicants to the program were from the Chattanooga area.
So have you seen any NGOs pick up the program and promote it?
I'm sorry.
Non-government organizations, nonprofits and things like that, pick it up?
No, however, I have been in communication with folks in Memphis, Shelby County that have expressed interest in implementing a program of this nature in that school district.
Okay, good, thank you.
My next update is in reference to the Arello Conference. If you would like to attend, I will need to know today. I'll be submitting for internal approval within TDCI next week. I would also like to know if you guys would like to attend Commissioners College. Arello's Commissioners College is a highly regarded educational program that is designed to prepare new board members and commission members for their unique role as regulatory decision makers and also serve as a valuable refresher course for those with more experience. The date of the Commissioners College, it begins on the 23rd at 8 a.m., so you would need to leave on the 22nd, and then the conference lasts until the 25th. The evening of the 25th, there's an award ceremony. And we will be submitting for several awards, so hopefully we'll be an award winner as well. And so you will most likely leave on the 26th. In Chicago, Illinois.
And that's this month.
September.
It's in September, but I need to know today if you would like to attend. So you would like to attend,
Yep.
Chair Diaz? Would you like to attend Commissioners College as well?
I can't commit to the dates, no.
You can't commit to?
I can't commit to be there through the 26th. I need to be back in Memphis on the 25th.
On the 25th? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me say that I did Commissioner College, and I did it online. So, because if I'm not mistaken, it's a two-part series.
There is a two-part series,
And-
Commissioners College 101 and 201.
Right.
Excuse me, 101 and 102.
Two, right.
And the offering this year is for Commissioners College 101.
Right, on site.
On site,
But you
yes.
could finish it up with an online.
Correct.
Yeah. I did mine online.
All right. Any other commissioners that know for certain they want to go?
And those dates again were September,
September 23rd through 25th.
okay.
If you want to let me know tomorrow for sure, that's fine as well. I know you all need to consult with others.
All right, commissioners, thank you.
I have a few more updates. This is probably my longest director's report, so I do apologize for the length of the report this morning. We have 2 RFPs out in reference to web-based education and an exam provider. We should be in contract with those 2 items in late July, early August. So just be mindful of that. The RFP for an E&O insurance provider should be issued this summer. We will be requesting the next E&O insurance policy to be extended to 30 months instead of a term of 24 months. This means that the policy will be set to expire on June 30th, 2027, and then going forward every 2 years from June 30th, 2027. This is for several reasons. One, it will assist with staffing levels during the holiday season and at a time when many brokers broker release their agents at the end of the calendar year. 2, it will allow us to better schedule TREC team members during the summer months when phone traffic, processing licensing traffic, and overall TREC tickets isn't quite as high. 3, it better aligns with the state of Tennessee fiscal year. And lastly, it will not conflict with other dues agents may have that are typically due at the end of every calendar year. So expect to see more information in reference to that in the months to come. Are there any questions in reference to the E&O insurance RFP?
So the extension for this next cycle is just so you can get it to the state fiscal year?
Correct.
And then it'll be a regular 24 months after that?
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct. Lastly, I think this is lastly, I have some staffing updates. Alex Martin, TREC's former assistant commissioner, has taken position with TDCI as a chief strategy officer. Reed Witcher is now the regulatory board's assistant commissioner. He brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the assistant commissioner's role, so we are very glad to have him. Lastly, it is with a bittersweet sentiment that I announced today that today is Aaron's last TREC Commission meeting serving as an administrative assistant for regulatory boards. Aaron has served TREC proudly for 9 years and in his current capacity as a liaison for TREC commissioners for 6 years. He has made sure every executive director, including myself, has had everything we needed for a successful meeting. Aaron has received a well-deserved promotion within TDCI. Although TREC team members and I will miss him and his wittiness and his enthusiasm for TREC, we are happy that he is exploring a new career opportunity. So with that, if we can give Aaron a round of applause for a job well done. We will be opening the position, the position was posted yesterday and it should be filled soon. So we hope to have someone in place by the time of the August meeting. So please be patient with us. Whoever is chosen will have huge shoes to fill. And so we will miss Aaron. And with that, I conclude my report unless there are questions.
I've got a question.
Commissioner
This is maybe more to Mr. White. I noticed the failing rate or the passing rate was 44%. So it seems like on the affiliate test, going down instead of going up. Is the course, is it a canned course, meaning it's taught the same in every state, or is it different by different providers? And should we look at the education part of that is not doing the job, or what's your thought on that?
Well, my thought is, yeah, it's different for pretty much each state. And are you speaking about the 60-hour
Yes.
test?
Yes,
Or
60-hour course, yes.
They are different. But across the board, in attending these Arello meetings, we find that this is the way it is across the United States. It's not just Tennessee.
Okay.
So this is an issue that's brought up routinely. What can we do to improve in the education committee meetings? And so it is an issue. One thing that I like to think about is that all of our agents and all of our providers, they need to stress education. They need to stress reading. They need to talk about these things in addition to whatever role they play in our education process. But yes, this is across the board issue. We're not alone. Certainly it'd be something for discussion. You want to look at the 60-hour course as it is, as it may. And to keep in mind, I don't think that course prepares a person to test and take the real estate exam. I think it helps, but it does not completely give them I guess, like a treatise on it. So there could be some things that we could look at going forward to maybe, make that course even better. And that would be that. I would need the expertise of each one of you all and maybe some other educational folks throughout the state. Along those lines, we're going to meet in July with all the education directors in the state. So that may be an issue that comes up there. But I applaud and thank you for your interest in this, because I think it's very, very important. We're not alone in it, but we could certainly be a leader.
Do the different providers tell prospective students what their pass-fail rate is or do you know?
I do not know.
We do have access to that information that we could possibly post. I'll need to check with legal on that, but we do have access to that information. I also have two other notes on that topic. I am on the Arello Examination Accreditation Committee this year. I had my first meeting in March, and I'll have another one in September in Chicago. So that is a concern of mine as well. Also would like for you to note that the state portion is significantly higher than the national portion. And so that tells me they know what's going on in Tennessee and maybe not know as much about the national portion. If you recall, when you took your tests, it's a lot of tenants in common and a lot of terms that aren't used in a day-to-day real estate practice. So you have to be mindful of that as well.
That's how they make sure you've read the material.
Yes. I think I still know an acre is 43,570 feet or something of that nature.
43,560.
See? So it's things of that nature that we have to be mindful of that does appear on the national test. Lastly, a lot of education providers offer a how to pass the test course over and beyond the 60-hour and the 30-hour course. And something that we're offering with the high school program is that course through Kaplan. So there are resources out there for folks to pass the test, but the onus is on them to study the material, understand the material. Thank you for that question. Are there any other questions?
Hearing none, the next is the public comment period. Do we have anybody signed up to speak?
One moment, please. Let me double check. We have no one signed up for public comment.
All right, so we will close the public comment period. Commissioners? Let's go ahead and take a break. The time is 9:34, so let's come back at 9:45. We are in recess.
Thank you.
All right, we are coming back into order.
Joe's holding us up.
Commissioners, staff, please come to order. So at this point, we're going to take up the legal and consent agenda. A number of cases have been pulled by commissioners for further discussions. Staff has also identified a number of cases that are for discussion as well. The following cases have been pulled: cases 3, 4, 9, 10, 11, 19, 20, 24, 29, and 49.
So this one here that we have a paper for that says 1, it's not the one that's on this list.
It could be,
Number 60? Okay,
yeah,
so we would need to put that on there, I guess.
and number 60. Thank you. I hesitate to ask, but are there commissioners that wish to pull any other cases? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve council's recommendation for.
Will you turn on your mic, please?
Sorry. Motion to approve council's recommendation for cases, how many are there? 1 through 60? With the exception of 3, 4, 9, 10, 11, 19, 20, 24, 29, 49, and 60.
So I have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Motion by Commissioner Torbett, seconded by Commissioner Moffett to accept council's recommendation on the legal and consent agenda minus the cases read into the record for further discussion. All those in favor of the motion? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. We are starting with case number 3. That was pulled by myself and Commissioner Smith. Go ahead, Commissioner Smith.
I'm not sure that I agree with a letter of warning in this particular situation because most of the time, or I should say all the time, we're under the guidance of the seller, and the seller said, that I want to continue to market my property. So I'm not sure a letter of warning is justified in this one. What did you find?
Well, I felt like in the respondent's reply, he said he did update the listing, kind of, saying that the property was going to continue to be marketed, even though there wasn't a designation on the MLS to that effect. Staff, did you get, by any chance, have the updated listing that showed that, or?
I'm sorry, the updated listing that showed that it was under contract?
The listing that showed the update that the property was, even though it was under contract, it was still being marketed?
That it was in the comments?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I kind of feel like, it was engineered. It was kind of, agent engineered, given the lack of a specific category. I kind of feel like, dismiss is probably in order, but that's just me.
There's no pending category that they can?
There is, but usually pending means that they're not marketing anymore. And this is
The seller wanted it on the market.
the seller wanted to continue marketing.
Categories like contingent.
I'm surprised I was surprised contingent show wasn't marked.
As I understand it, that MLS didn't have that category, but it does now, but it didn't at the time.
Well, I have a question as public member. So the MLS listings are not consistent throughout the state?
No.
Well, that's weird.
All associations would
their
have different
own.
fields.
Okay, got it.
Different languages.
And it's kind of gray because contingent, continue to show, or active are both still being marketed, but they they're a lot different because, you know, on the outside websites, contingent takes it off.
Right.
Zillows and Realtor.coms and stuff like
And
that.
that,
So,
and I'm sure that's why the seller didn't want it marked like that.
but they, and you're right about, we're under the direction of seller as long as it's what we're supposed to be doing in
Right.
our own associations or the state, but I'm torn.
Well, let's get a motion and then we can figure it out.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion that we dismiss
Second.
on number 3, case number 2024004961. How's that?
We're being very precise today. So I have a motion to dismiss case number 3, seconded by Commissioner Torbett. Is there any further discussion for case number 3? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Case number 4. All right, so I pulled this one. So this is a case that was related to 5, 6, and 8, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So they mentioned a particular broker. You say it's unlicensed, but there's no licensee at all?
Not in the original listing. It did not have a licensed broker in that
Okay.
information packet at all.
And it's not a licensed firm?
It said, it had the name, it had the partial name of a firm, and it was not their DBA, so it didn't even have the complete firm name in that initial packet.
Okay. And the employee that they talk about in there as being the person that was supposed to be there, that person's not licensed?
Yes, the person that was supposed to, the licensed broker that was supposed to be, according to the respondent, supposed to be on the initial prospectus that was offered, is in the corrected prospectus that went out after they were notified of the complaint, but it still had these other individuals listed as the team members and salespeople to contact.
Mm-hmm.
So there was really an offering memorandum,
Essentially, yes, sir.
and so they put names of 4 people that were unlicensed on the original and then modified it after they were notified that it was flawed. Okay. So this is a $4,000 mistake, correct?
Yes, sir.
5?
I included a recommendation for a civil penalty for the firm itself as well, because in the corrected offering memorandum that went out, as I said, it still had these other unlicensed individuals as the point of contact for information about the sale and if you wanted to purchase the property.
So the very fact that they named those individuals as contacts for sale and purchasing of the property, that triggers the violation, not whether an actual transaction occurred.
In advertising, yes, sir, that's my
Correct.
understanding.
When was this firm licensed?
2022, it looks like. It's number 8. Look at number 8. Because I think that's the firm.
So how did this get opened? It says administratively, but how did it get brought to your all's attention?
I opened the complaint. It was on the news and everywhere else in reference to these parcels of property.
Make a motion we accept council's recommendation.
Second.
Wow. Okay.
Do we even need to vote? Everybody seconded it.
I have a motion by Commissioner Smith to accept council's recommendation, seconded by Commissioner Moffitt. I think he beat everybody.
And that would be through,
Cases number 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Case number 9. Timeshare. I did pull 9. All right, so my issue with this one is the third strike, failure to respond. I don't, let's see. I feel like it does, have we fined them $1,000 each time?
Did they pay it?
So it seems to me like they've decided that it's the cost of doing business to not respond, and they're just gonna continue ignoring us, and I don't like that. So I don't know, is there a license to suspend? Is there a,
Can we add some education?
well, I mean, he's had 2 next times. I'm kind of out of grace for this particular licensee.
What if we add several hours of education? Seems
Well,
like that might be a little bit more of a deterrent, since the $1,000 civil penalty doesn't seem to be deterring this.
The floor is open for motion and education. I would say it would be the core course.
So who would do it?
I mean, I'd want them to do the core course.
So who would do it if it is the firm?
Well, the type of license we have here would be the firm, so I guess the principal broker at the firm, I guess.
So let me ask this one more time. So in 2023, they had 2 failure to respond, and they were penalized for $1,000 each. Is that correct? Yes, ma'am. Which they paid in a timely manner.
Were those the same complaint or 2 different complaints?
Are we allowed to have a different civil penalty for more than $1,000? No.
It's up to $1,000 per violation. And yeah. It's like,
Can we revoke their license?
It is on the spectrum of civil penalties and findings we can decide to impose. I don't know if it rises to revocation, but that's not up to me. But the floor is open for a motion.
I'd say you'd get them to respond.
So since it is a firm license and not a particular individual, that's a good question. I mean, education would be imposed on whom? That would be my thought, but. I mean, we can't really do, I don't think it's fair to do anything necessarily to the firm license, because that affects all the affiliates down below. There's no reason for them to trigger a 10-day clock on them.
But it might get them to the table to explain why they think they don't have to respond to us.
I mean, you could assess a civil penalty to the firm for failure to respond, and then administratively opening a complaint against the principal broker for the person of the firm. If you're talking about who would be the individual to answer, I would assume it would be the PB.
So the earliest we could hear that case would be August at this point.
Right.
I like that idea.
I'd love a motion.
Joe made a motion. Did you not make a motion? He thought about it. His highlighters leaked all over his hands.
Nice.
All right, do we not have a motion? I'll make a motion. I will make a motion that we accept council's recommendation and open an administrative complaint against the principal broker of this firm.
Second. I have a motion by Commissioner Torbett to accept council's recommendation on case number 9 of a $1,000 civil penalty for failure to respond, and then to administratively open a complaint against the principal broker of the firm Any further discussion? It was seconded by Commissioner Bagley.
What is the complaint? What are we, we're opening a complaint for just,
No response.
Yes. The principal broker is going to answer for the firm's.
so what's the complaint going to say, Anna?
So like when we administratively open a complaint, it is, the previous complaint is attached to it. We'll make sure that it's assigned to Kim, who could give the context back for when it's presented to you on the legal report, and connect it to this one and let them know, it was for failure to respond to address that issue.
But it's not going to say anything other than that. It's just a transmittal letter, right?
Right, it's a form that we fill out, for the complaint, and then you can put in a summary. If there's like specific things, if there's something you want us to put in the summary, but we would just basically transmit it to the centralized complaints division to tell them, hey, we want to open this complaint. It's linked to this one, principal broker to address
So
repeated failure to respond related to the firm.
on the past two instances, when we fine them $1,000, we send them a letter, your fine is $1,000, they just send a check back in the mail or however they pay, and with no, I'm sorry, with no kind of transmittal at all?
I'm sure there was probably, sometimes people throw in, apologize related to it. I don't have the exact response related to them, but they have to sign the consent order saying that they've done it, whatever, and then pay the amount. But sometimes we just get the consent order and payment in the mail. Sometimes we talk a little bit more to people.
Can we do a civil penalty to the broker without opening the complaint? We have to open the complaint and then do that.
Right, because
Okay.
this complaint's just open against the firm.
Can you see, is it the same principal broker for the last, it's the same person that these,
I can look, I'm skeptical that it is, but I can look and see about the other complaints. We can look at the history.
I was just curious if it's a different principal broker and they don't realize this has happened the last two other times.
I'll take a look, and get that answer to you here in a second. But you guys can carry on.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Case number 10, Joan, that's you. Oh, that was for discuss.
So 10 and 11 are together, right?
10 and 11 are together, that's correct.
Right.
That's to discuss. This is a quitclaim deed?
Yes, did you pull it?
No, it was for discuss.
I did pull it, but I wanted, my question is, why did they feel the need for a quick claim deed? I was confused on that one.
As was I, and that is why the homeowners thought that they had sold the house to this licensee. And so based on the text messages, the respondent was adamant that they never made an offer to purchase the home. But I've bought a couple houses myself, and that text message would have left me confused as to whether or not the home had been sold,
Right.
especially when I have to go down and sign over a deed. So that was my concern.
Well, this is also that the deed was filled out but was never recorded.
Correct. And the homeowner was not aware of that and was not savvy enough, I don't think, to have followed up and checked on that. It wasn't until there was a credit check pulled several months later that they found out they still owed this home and the mortgage was still in their name, and that's when the parent of one of these adults, who was a licensee, got involved and tracked down what was going on. Who rented the property? The respondent became the landlord and rented it out to a tenant. Yes, sir.
So, Joan, what's in your mind here? Is it failure to exercise reasonable skill and care, mislead? What do you got?
All of the above. It just doesn't feel good.
It did not to me either. No, ma'am.
So So just writing a letter doesn't seem like sufficient to me. So what would be my guidelines?
Well, failure to exercise due care or not treating all parties to the transaction with good faith and with honesty.
And that could be a civil penalty
Yes, ma'am.
of up to,
Of up to $1,000. Yes, ma'am.
And you do have an education opportunity.
I
as well.
know, that's exactly where I'm going with it too. It's just how much education you want to give them and how many classes.
Well, I mean, the core course is always out there.
I agree. But what class tells you to be honest and straightforward? I don't know where that one
Well,
is.
I don't know how you teach someone that either. Yes, ma'am.
Well,
Okay, I'm going to make a motion that we assess a $1,000 civil penalty and that a core class has to be taken within 60 days
Second.
with that education does not go toward their continuing education.
all right, so I have a motion by Commissioner Smith to impose a $1,000 civil penalty on cases number 10 and 11, and also to have this licensee take a core course, and then within the next 60 days, and for that credit to not be counted towards their continuing education. Seconded by Commissioner Moffitt.
Is that for failure to treat all parties in good faith and
Yes,
and
ma'am.
honesty? Yes, ma'am.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously on cases number 10 and 11. All right, case number 19. This is the unlicensed activity on a property manager. Do we get any of the respondents' responsibilities exempted under statute? Or,
Not that they pointed out and not that I saw in the paperwork that was provided.
okay.
This respondent never claimed that they owned the property that they were managing.
All right. But they also didn't say that their duties are restricted to showing properties or?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Seems pretty straightforward to me. Is there a motion?
I make a motion we accept council's recommendation.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Smith to accept council's recommendation, seconded by Commissioner Tucker. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Case number 20, I also pulled that one. On this one, I just want to know if that they ever did file that lawsuit. Do you know?
I don't believe they did, but let me double check. As of May, they had not yet done that.
And is it possible to impose a penalty and do litigation monitoring? Or you got to do one or the other?
I can go ahead and do the consent order for litigation monitor, or for the civil penalty, but also follow up with the complainant and ask them to keep us advised of the litigation, if it ever materializes.
Okay. Floor is open for a motion.
I'll make a motion to impose a penalty, civil penalty of $1,000 for failing within a reasonable time to account for or to remit any monies coming into the licensee's possession that belong to others in violation of Tennessee Code 62-13-312B5, and also litigation monitoring.
So I have a motion to accept council's recommendation, but add litigation monitoring by Commissioner Bagley, seconded by Commissioner Smith. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Case number 24 was to discuss. Counsel, is there anything else you want us to know about this case?
The reason I asked for a discussion is I don't believe that, as I said, the initial transaction was the fault of the respondent. I was concerned that once the respondent learned that it was a scam, that they did not immediately contact the complainant to let them know that it was a scam. The complainant actually found out from someone else in the office on that same day. So the information wasn't delayed, but it was not because of any act of the respondent that they learned about it.
Right, they didn't want to panic the complainant, they said?
That's essentially what they said, yes. They wanted to get some more information before they contacted the complainant.
Did the complainant lose any money, or?
They did. They did not have title insurance. The purchase price of the property of the lot was $40,000. There was actually a lien on the property, and so they were able to recover the amount of the lien because the lien holder then just placed another lien on the property. So they got about half of their money back.
So I'm in the reasonable skill and care universe.
I am too.
But the complainant found out the same day the respondent found out?
Yes.
From someone else?
From someone else.
My thing is, I mean, sometimes, I mean, you try to get a handle on what's going on before you call and pull the alarm on everything. So, I mean, a day is not, to me, like trying to hide anything or keep it from anybody. If you're talking to the title companies and you're talking to, just trying to get a hold of, what's really going on before you call with just this vague information and throw them into a panic. So I make a motion to dismiss.
I have a motion dismissed by Commissioner Bagley. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is seconded by Commissioner Gwynn. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Case number 29. Also discuss.
Yes.
And this is a represent?
It is, yes, sir. The respondent in this matter, this was a referral to our office from the Attorney General's office, from the Division of Consumer Affairs. The respondent was sent a letter from the commission that said, this complaint has been opened against you, you need to respond within 10 days, just like we do with everyone. In this case, the respondent had already provided a response to the Attorney General's office, and so says that when they got that letter to respond to the commission, they thought it was a duplicate and that we already had their response. They also apparently continued to think that when they got the letter saying we haven't received a response. And so they were very upset when the consent order came for failure to respond. The reason I'm representing it and asking for discussion is that we've had at least 2 other respondents in cases that were referred to us from the Division of Consumer Affairs that had the same reaction. I've already provided a response to you. Apparently not understanding that there are different departments within the state. We have now, we being the commission or the program, have now updated the letter to say, make clear, even if you've already provided a response to someone else in the state, whoever that may be, this is the commission, this is who holds your license, you need to respond to us. They are asking for the civil penalty against them to be reconsidered because they did, as they say, provide a response to the state, and so they satisfied their obligation.
Counsel, what's your position?
At the risk of upsetting any respondent, my position is that as a licensee, you should know who holds your license, and when you get a letter from the Tennessee Real Estate Commission, that you are obligated to respond. And that in 99% of those cases, a simple phone call or email to say, hey, I thought I already responded to this would satisfy that obligation and make clear, no, you still need to at least say, I didn't do this. But that's my feeling.
So this licensee's decision to ignore a letter from TREC instead of calling and saying, what you said, contacting the commission and try to remedy this situation in some way, shape, or form. That was a deliberate choice by that licensee to ignore a letter from TREC.
It could be seen that way, yes, sir.
Okay. My other concern was, I wasn't sure that this respondent was acting in the best interest of the seller. I know that's not part of what
Is being reconsidered,
is
yes,
being
ma'am.
reconsidered, but that was my red flag.
I will also say that the program does a lot to try to let licensees know what they need to do, up to and including sending a certified letter if we don't receive the response that we're supposed to get. And so someone had to sign for that, and it says again, this is the Tennessee Real Estate Commission, and you have to respond to this.
Do you know if we've acted on the other two similar cases that you said you've gotten recently?
That were specifically referred to us from the Consumer Affairs?
You said there was two.
There were two other cases where someone, I may have combined those two. There are at least two other cases that I have where someone says, I did provide a response. One of them was a Consumer Affairs issue, and we did act on that one. The other one, they're still in their determination period as to whether or not they have to settle with the consent order or go to a hearing, and so we're kind of going back and forth about that now.
And this licensee didn't even offer what response they sent to the Attorney General's office.
In this case, they did, finally, just last month after we
But past
asked
the 10 days.
for it. Yes, sir.
Question. Did the explanatory clause you added to the letter happen after this?
Yes, it happened as a result of this.
As a result of
The two other
this.
cases of where we had someone from the consumer, yes, I'm sorry, to go back to your question, yes, we did. They got the consent order and they did pay it. The one that was mine. I think another one was Ms. Carter's, and I don't know if they did that or not. But we had to go back and forth, myself and that respondent, a couple of times before they understood that they indeed had not responded to the commission. In this case, your question is, did the updated letter go out after this response? Yes. As a result of those cases, I think starting this month, the letters that go out on cases that are referred from any other agency is going to say, even if you've already responded to the Attorney General's office, you still need to respond to us.
Just out of curiosity, that when you send a letter asking for a response, something's been filed, you're asking for a response, does the letter have some kind of language in there that's in bold that says failure to respond could subject you to a $1,000 fine?
I don't know that it mentions the $1,000 fine. I do know that the program is
Per-
very, very clear about saying per rule, and cites the rule.
Right.
You must respond within 10 days. Or
In
you can
black,
be-
bold,
Yes, sir.
yeah, okay.
And I'd just say that this is not a new requirement. Anybody that has a license and
Correct.
has gone through a couple of cycles is told, you have 10 days to respond to TREC.
I'd like to make a motion.
It's in,
Can I?
it's I'm looking at the letter and it's in bold and underline that you have to respond to us within 10 days with the receipt of this notice.
As I
So-
said, the program does everything they can to make clear what your obligations are.
I heard Joe wants to make a motion.
Can I say something before you do that? Okay, go ahead.
No, make your motion. Let's get a motion.
But I'd like to make a motion to accept council's recommendation.
The recommendation was to discuss.
I'm sorry. Okay. I would like to make a motion to assess a $1,000 penalty for failure to respond in a timely fashion.
Got a motion on case number 29, to impose a $1,000 civil penalty for failure to respond. Is there a second? Motion by Commissioner Bagley, seconded by Commissioner Gahn. Further discussion, Commissioner Smith.
Yes, so I am still concerned that they did not act in the best interest of the seller. So can we add something else to this?
I don't know that we can reopen the original complaint, so I will defer to the program attorney's counsel. Are we allowed to reopen the original complaint, which was the
I know she don't like me right now.
I always like you. But, so, like, typically in the past, if it's a failure to respond complaint, we don't address that particular portion, any of the, like, underlying issues, because the person didn't respond. So we only have, like, one side of the story, and the respondent, did not provide, us with a response. In this particular case, they finally did give us a response. So I think we would, if we were to look at that, it would probably be something that would need to be brought back to you, because you don't know what that response says at this moment. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, I think it's possible that we could talk about it since we have a response now, but we wouldn't be able to vote on it right now because you don't have all the information.
So would we ask you to bring back the original complaint?
I mean, I
front
think
of
if
us.
that's something that you would like to do is to discuss the underlying issues within the complaint, we could do that. So I would just probably, in that case, if you're okay with it, I was gonna recommend they defer it and you just bring back another. I would recommend that we would just defer this matter to the August meeting, so we can bring you back the information from with about the specific issue. We would write it up like we normally do, and then we can address both of those things at the same time in a revised consent order, if it were to get to that point.
You're saying, look at both issues being failure to respond and then the issue
Right,
with
just
this.
so we don't like bifurcate it, and I don't want to confuse the respondent any further.
Oh, okay.
But it says that complainants did not provide any documentation.
Even if the complainants didn't provide documentation, the respondent should have it.
So we have a motion right now for imposing a $1,000 civil penalty. You would like us to not do that today and defer?
It's up to you. I'm just saying my recommendation would be to defer, so we don't bifurcate the issues.
Commissioner Bagley, what do you think? You want to act on this today, or you want to defer?
I think Commissioner Smith, if she wants to dig a little deeper in here, then we can defer. But if we close it with this, with what's on the table and don't dig any deeper, we're okay, right, Anna? And if we
Right.
just send them a $1,000 civil penalty for this. So I'm gonna let her. I'm open to deferring, but I'm also made the motion, so whatever Commissioner Smith wants.
I have a question. So this didn't come before us. It came before the Attorney General's office. And then how did it get to us from the Attorney General's office?
They referred it to us because it was a licensee of ours, and so.
So they didn't make any kind of there was no action on it?
No.
I understand what you're saying, Joan, about I don't think they had their best interest at heart, but it doesn't look like the complainant's complaint was about that, was it? So the complaint was they didn't have a chance to make a counter offer, basically.
Well, they didn't have a chance to get a counter offer, but it appears that the
Respondent
respondent
purchased
purchased
the
the
property
property.
themselves. Yeah.
And then put it right back on the market. So I'm concerned that they didn't act in the best interest of the seller, which is not the complaint that we're seeing, because the complaint we're seeing is from the buyer. He's upset, or she's upset that they didn't get to buy it. And I guess I'm reading into, did the respondent act in the best interest of the seller?
And I think they're saying we can't know that because we don't have all the
We don't have
information
response,
before us today.
because we don't have the response.
And the seller hasn't made a complaint. The seller
Right,
would be
and
the
they
one
didn't
that would
make
need
a
to make a complaint.
So I'm okay. I'm okay to go with your motion.
All right, so to restate, the motion is to impose a $1,000 civil penalty on this licensee for failure to respond, made by Commissioner Bagley, seconded by Commissioner Gahn. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
I've got a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Nguyen.
So, in the event, this is more of a legal strategy question, maybe unfair, but if the person we're talking about says, I'm not going to pay the $1,000 penalty, and has a hearing, and they say, why did you add that clause if it was so clear in the event that a person is dealing with another division of the state of Tennessee? Why did you add that clause to that letter? What are we going to say?
I would make the same statement I made to you all just a little while ago, that you're the licensee, you should know who issues your license. And
Okay.
it's very clear in the letter that this is the Real Estate Commission, not the Attorney General's office, that is telling you to respond.
I can see their confusion, though, a little bit, in that they'd been dealing with another department and had a lot of correspondence on it, and, you know, they felt like, for whatever reason, that was good enough. And then afterwards, it came to their attention that the TREC has now added a sentence in their transmittal letter to basically make sure you understand that if you've been dealing with another department, that doesn't work.
Okay, and I'm gonna give you my opinion. This person was first licensed in '93.
But I get it, but the failure to respond is basically dealing with this is my opinion, that's a real estate matter. And this was turned over to another department within the state for whatever reason. We don't know. I can see their confusion a little bit, even though it's clear.
I'll just read, I'll read the bolded language. So I'll clarify the information that's been added to the letter is only for letters that have been, matters that have been referred by the Division of Consumer Affairs, and it's only for the Tennessee Real Estate Commission. We're not adding this language to any other board or commission. But it says, the bolded language that already exists says, a written response must be filed with this office within 10 days of your receipt of this notice. In your response, please provide a detailed explanation for the allegation presented. And so it says, please find the attached correspondence regarding the Tennessee Real Estate Commission complaint. So that's already what's been provided to them.
What does the new letter say?
So we're adding language that says, so it will now say, please find the attached correspondence regarding the Tennessee Real Estate Commission, which was, this is the new language, referred to our office by the Division of Consumer Affairs. And then the new sentence says, a response must be received by our office, even if one has previously been sent to the Division of Consumer Affairs then we put the statute there. But it's very clear that it's on our letterhead, says you have to respond to this office, and it comes from us. And we have been referred complaints from Consumer Affairs for years. So this is not a new novel issue. I've heard this argument from lots of people before. It's just some people are louder than others.
I think the language is good.
The new language or the old?
The new language is
Yes.
good. It's very good. And I can say that, thankfully, I've been in real estate for a while, and I don't have any dealings with the Attorney General, thankfully. So if I got a letter from the Attorney General, that would be a red flag to me, whoa, what's this about? And then when I got the normal TREC letter, I would know this is my group. I got to talk to these folks. So I feel good with the.
I guess my question is, so if they had responded, what would the complaint be and what would the civil penalty be to the complaint? I'm just a little confused about, so they didn't respond, so it's a $1,000 civil penalty, but that doesn't really address the complaint at issue anyway.
would be looking at the case.
So what happens if we keep the civil penalty and then they respond? They still have to pay the civil penalty and respond? Or once they pay this $1,000, this is gone? And so the complaint is gone, they didn't respond. They may have gotten off better by not responding and paying a civil penalty of $1,000
Right.
than having to deal with the fact that it seems a little shady.
Which is why Ms. Matlock recommended to defer to August for me to go over the response and any additional documentation that the complainant might have provided and see if there's a need for a civil penalty on that without splitting up the failure to respond with the initial complaint.
So, Mr. Chairman, if we want to defer, I think, my thought is the deferral is a good route. Do we vote on the, do we vote no, or what do we do? Or we table it, or what?
If the motion is presented, is not withdrawn, then yes, we would vote on it, and if you disagree with it, you would vote no. And if it fails, it would be, we'd be open for a new motion.
Do you want to amend your motion, Joe?
I would like to
Or withdraw your motion?
withdraw my motion, make a new motion that we defer this till the August meeting with new information brought by council to the original complaint.
Second.
So I have the original withdrawal to impose a $1,000 civil penalty for failure to respond has been withdrawn by Commissioner Bagley. He then makes a new motion to defer case number 29 to our August meeting. That was seconded by Commissioner Gwynn. Are all commissioners clear on the new motion? I hope you're ready to vote. Let's go ahead. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Case number 49, also discuss.
Sorry. So yeah, for a brief summary of this case, the complainant received a letter, which they believe was a live check to purchase their property. The individual listed on the check is unlicensed, but they work for a licensed firm. And so it was like a weird, like kind of gray area because I didn't think that it fell into the exemption under the rule for like a corporation and like being an employee under there, working in your regular role as that person. And also, it was just weird because in addition to them working for a licensed person, they don't have the license. And although they can like normally make an offer, anyone can make an offer on a property, it's that they're connected with a licensed real estate firm, which is where I think a normal person would be confused. And so I wanted to have the commission discuss it, and if they believe it's unlicensed activity, assess a civil penalty of $1,000 for unlicensed activity, and then also open an administrative complaint against the firm for employing someone who is not licensed.
Is live check a legal term?
No, it was just what was mentioned in the letter. So essentially, the letter was like, this check represents a real offer that we would make on the property if you chose to sell it to us. But they wrote it in the letter that it was a live check. That it was.
So
It
they're
represents
saying
a
it
live
was a
check.
live check, but on the check, it says void.
Sorry, it's on the letter says it represents a live check. So it's like, we intend to make this offer. And if you say, okay, we'll make this a real check. But on the check, it says void. It's, yeah.
That'd be an easy way to do business. You just write a check and say void and be like, do you want to take this?
Where'd that money go?
Exactly.
Just kidding.
Just kidding.
Would you like that?
I would, yeah, go ahead.
I make a motion that we accept council's recommendation of a civil penalty of $1,000 and open an administrative complaint against the firm or the firm's principal broker.
I have a motion by Commissioner Smith to accept council's recommendation to oppose a $1,000 civil penalty and open up a civil complaint against the firm and/or the principal broker of the firm. Seconded by Commissioner Moffitt.
And just to clarify, on the legal report, it does say discuss, but I know I made an oral recommendation. I just wanted to clarify that for the record.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. And Anna gave us a present when we walked in the door for case number 60.
Yes, and the present comes with news. This matter is being represented to you because for August, we currently have 2 hearings set for August. And one of the hearings is related to this matter. So essentially, I'll just read what I wrote on here in the new information. So on or about June 4th, 2024, council filed a notice of hearing and charges for this matter before the Administrative Procedures Division to be heard before the commission with an administrative law judge. I'm not sure about that date. I should double check it, but it's for Thursday of August meeting. Following dissemination of the notice of hearing charges, council and respondent began to discuss next steps in the matter and discuss possible settlement options. Following this discussion, I'm recommending that respondent be assessed a civil penalty of $500 for the violations contained of 1260-02.12. As this is the first time by advertisement, council believes this amount is most appropriate to align with the commission's previous decisions related to advertising. Council and respondent have drafted a potential agreed order for consideration for the commission, which would include provisions for the respondent to pay this amount with a payment plan and requisite terms and conditions for signing that order. So we have one hearing set for after the meeting. This one is set for the next day. It's advertising violation related to a Facebook post.
So council's recommendation is to impose a $500 civil penalty?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioners? Commissioner Gwynn?
So this person is wanting to come wanting to come for a hearing over $500?
So the current civil penalty is $1,000. So it is $1,000 civil penalty that would be before the commission in August. And my recommendation is to reduce the civil penalty to a $500 civil penalty, as this person has no additional discipline, and this is the first time advertising violation.
So if they agree to the 500, does that mean no hearing?
Yes,
And if they don't agree, then it goes back to 1,000 and we have a hearing?
correct.
Are they aware of the $500 offer? Have they
Yes, so the respondent is aware of the $500 offer. They are willing to pay the $500 offer, or also very happy if you would dismiss it. So those are the options for you here today. So they're aware of the $500 offer. It's been presented to them. We've discussed it.
So my question is, why did the last time we not accept the $500 recommendation? So we said 1,000, and then it was represented
Right.
for $500, and we went back to 1,000.
Right, so I went back and I watched the meeting because I was like, what happened here? So the vote for last time, it came to 4-3. The decision was, and it was more so, $1,000 was the imposition of the civil penalty, or I think, honestly, in that alternative, the consideration was going to possibly be dismissal for this case, because the issue was, so this person has a Facebook page, and their page or information was posted in their firm's private group, and another member of that group found their Facebook page and reported it for a complaint because it said it was out of compliance. So some inside workings there from the complainant. And, but the Facebook page, as we know, there's no delineation in the rules between private and public pages. And so the individual on their Facebook page has, did say, this is their name, your realtor, and it's talked about being available to give real estate services to individuals in certain counties. So to me, it looked like it didn't matter if it was public or private, because if we look at the advertising rules, it says if you are advertising yourself as a licensee or a property, you have to comply with the advertising rules. And the advertising rules include that you have to have your full name, the firm name, and your firm phone number. And that individual's like full name, firm name, and they had the wrong phone number on their Facebook page listed. So when I went back and watched the meeting, it seemed to be that there was some favor for, because the person had violated the advertising rules, regardless if it was due to an in-firm dispute, that still the violation remains.
Just to be clear,
Yeah.
because it is confusing sometimes, all that information you said that had to be there is a one-click rule, right?
Right, there's the one-click rule if you don't have it, and there was no clickable links on there, so I could not access that information based on what was provided to me via the one-click rule.
I'd like to make a motion to accept council's recommendation.
I have a motion by Commissioner Bagley to accept council's recommendation of a $500 civil penalty, seconded by Commissioner Smith. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Council, any further cases to present?
No further cases to present, but I did, next would be the rules, but I did want to say I still do have a case that's set for hearing on after the meeting in August. It is possible that case will settle, but I wouldn't be able to bring you a settlement offer ahead of time until the August meeting. That's kind of where it is. It's possible that I could ask the individual if since this matter will be closed, that we could we could switch days. So if you do decide, to not have the hearing, it'll be a not game day decision. If that makes sense.
What's the date of the August meeting?
It's the,
Well, my daughter's getting married, so I'm afraid it's gonna be that week.
the meeting is the 7th.
Yeah, I won't be here. My daughter's getting married on the 10th, so I probably will be needed at home. No, she's getting married at home. No more Nashville wedding. She's getting married in Johnson City. In Johnson City.
So, but that's not something for you guys to worry about. But right now, we do have a hearing scheduled for August.
So you do have a rulemakings for us
I
today?
have 2 packages here for you today.
All right, let's get it.
I'm not sure which is first on your iPads. If someone will tell me what the
The
first.
Tennessee Corps proposed topic outlines is first, and then the
Oh,
retroactive
it looks like the
rule
retrospective rule
review.
review package is first. Okay, so if you remember, I don't remember when we talked about it, but the department was required to do a retrospective rule review of all of our rules and regulations that were into effect, and we had a executive session where Commissioner Martin went through the proposed changes of the rules that we proposed related to the rules. And so now those changes are coming to life here in a rule package. So I'll go through them. No updates have been provided from that, so it is the same package, except the distance education rules have been removed because those are now in effect. Okay, so the first one you'll see, yes.
So, just a quick question. On page 3, I know the red lines, what that means, but the stuff that's in blue, is that something new, added, changed? What's that designation?
Correct. So if you see something that's in red and marked out, that is language that's being removed. If you see something that is blue and underlined, That is language that's being added.
Thank you.
So I'll start with the first rule. It's the 1260-01, .01, applications for examination. And so we are finally correcting this particular rule. And so in this particular changes, we would be removing paragraph 4 and taking the last sentence of that paragraph, which states that an applicant who appears before the commission requesting licensure and is denied will not be re-eligible for consideration for 6 months from the date of denial. That's going to be moved to a new paragraph 5D, that sentence. So the reason that this provision is being removed is because we're preventing anyone from sitting for the licensure test within 2 years. We had run afoul to the Fresh Start Act, and so that has not been enacted in a while. And so anybody in that area has been coming before the commission, so we'll just be officially removing that. The next provision is 1260.01-.15 for the errors and omissions insurance coverage. And so this particular provision is going to put in rule that each coverage policy needs to include each individual licensee's name. So we have said time and time again, those umbrella or firm rosters, we need to make sure that the individual names are listed on the rosters. We're putting that in rule now. So that's what that paragraph will do. 1260-01-.16, also E&O, and so a new paragraph 1A3 is going to be added. It just is going to clarify for licensees that fail and to maintain their E&O. $200 penalty will be assessed if the individual is broker released, retires, or voluntarily surrenders their license. That's a practice that we have been doing now, but we putting it in rule will clarify that. And that is just for individuals that have been suspended for more than 30 days, but less, but within 120. And you'll see I'm updating some statutes because they were some wrong. The next one is also a new provision. The first one is for any licensee, so affiliates or brokers. This particular provision, paragraph 2C13 is for principal brokers. So it will be assess a $200 civil penalty to the principal broker if their licensee is broker released, retired, or voluntary surrenders their license after 30 days, but less than 120. The next provision is 1260.01-.19. This is the appearances before the commission rule. So it basically the rule is stating if you come before the commission, you have to bring your principal broker. The rule is being clarified to include that timeshare salespersons or acquisition agent applicants, they're required to bring their managing agent or broker because that term is sometimes different in their world. And then the last sentence would state that any applicants for a principal broker license are not required to appear before the commission with the principal broker. Because, we sometimes have individuals that have reciprocal licenses but may have criminal convictions. And if they're going to be a broker of their own form, there's no reason for them to bring a principal broker that won't actually be their principal broker. That's happened to us once before, but it could happen again. The next one is the rule 1260-01-.21 for military applicants. This rule is being repealed, not the actual sentiment related to military applicants, but the Division of Regulatory Boards. We do have a statute related to military applicants. It's 4-3-1304, and so some of our commissions have separate rules related to that, and we're just going to let the statute for the division prevail, so we don't have differing military applicant rules. The next rule is 1260.02-01, correcting nomenclature, changing from his to their. The next one is 1260.02-.02, termination of affiliation. So we're just including removing faxing because it's 2024. And we're including that you could submit a TREC Form 1 on a form designated by the commission as well, how those can be submitted to us. Also, the next one is 1260-02-.02. It's the paragraph 2. So we require individuals within 10 days of being broker released to reaffiliate with another firm or to place their license in retirement. But right now, if they don't comply with that, there's no essential recourse for us to do. And so it states here, we're adding a sentence that failure to comply with this provision may result in the imposition of disciplinary action. So we don't have individuals that are just active but not affiliated with the firm. The paragraph 6 of that same rule is removing the notarization requirement of the affidavit for release. So you can just submit it, but it doesn't have to be notarized any further. 1260-02-.10 closing statements, changing he to they. Next is 1260-02-.32 civil penalties. So we're removing the civil penalty structures. Right now it's delineated by statute and then the different parts, and it gives you numbers from like 300 to 1,000. So instead it's just going to say that the commission has the ability to impose a civil penalty amount from $0 to $1,000. And so it'll just be uniform across, so we don't have to go through all of that. The same is going for paragraph 2. The difference between paragraph 1 and 2, 1 is for licensees, 2 is for unlicensed individuals. So we're removing that and just putting in the amount of $0 to $1,000. The next one is 1260-02-.33, gifts and prizes. We're clarifying that the commission does consider gift cards to be the same as cash. So it'll be a new paragraph that states a real estate licensee shall not give or pay cash rebates, cash gifts, gift cards, prizes, or any similar cash-based incentive in conjunction with any real estate transaction. Which we do have the statute that basically says we can't give cash or cash rebates. And it's being clarified to include that gift cards we do consider to be the same as cash, which we have done before in the past.
Ms. Matlock, on this point, how do you feel about cryptocurrency?
Any similar cash-based incentive,
Is that, you would put that under that umbrella?
I would put that into that same category. Yeah. You have to pay cash to get crypto, right?
As far as I know, yes.
I don't know. I don't do it. It sounds like anyway, I don't do that. So, but I do think you have to give some money to get cryptocurrency.
So no. So there used to be a limit on the gifts, and now there's just no gifts?
No, this is adding to the rules for for gifts. So I don't believe there's a limit on gifts. It just says you have to have like certain requirements that have to be written out for gifts. Right now, I'm adding a new paragraph that will say, that clarifies that gift cards are included, because gift cards are not written anywhere.
Okay, because we're going to get asked this question.
Yes.
Just for clarification, you go
Yes.
to a broker's open house
Yes.
and you receive a gift card
Yes.
from a lender or a home inspector or something like that.
Yes.
You gonna read me the rule?
So, I'm going to pull up the rule itself. It states that in here, if you guys will go to page 87, it states that a licensee may offer a gift, prize, or other valuable consideration as an inducement to the purchase, listing, or lease of real estate only if the offer is made and it gives certain considerations. So this says a licensee. And we regulate gifts and prizes related to a licensee. And it has to be, and it's in consideration of a purchase, listing, or lease of property. Because I did get a question that someone was asking, well, what if it happens at the end of the transaction? Well, it doesn't cover here at the end of the transaction, but we still don't give out cash related to that. So if a lender is giving out gift cards, we don't regulate the lenders.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
But it can be a lender or a home inspector or a.
If
pest
if that's their business.
Right, okay.
We are regulating what licensees can do.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one is 1260-02-.38. It's death, that should say, or extended absence of a principal broker. That rule, we're adding a new paragraph that failure to comply with the provisions of this rule may result in disciplinary action, but not limited to the imposition of a civil penalty or closure of the firm without a principal broker. So if you don't have a principal broker, that rule sets out, you're supposed to give the commission a plan. And the plan's supposed to be executed within 30 days, but we can give you an extension for 60 days. But if up to 60 days, but
Is that
anything,
60 in addition to the 30?
no, it's an
It's
additional
total
30,
60.
right?
Total 60, okay.
But there's nothing in the rule that says if you don't do that, what happens? So that paragraph is stating that if you don't comply with that, then we have the ability to open up a complaint, and then the opening of the complaint, or at that point, could include the imposition of civil penalty, which would include possible closure of the firm because there's no principal broker.
Okay.
Okay, now moving to the second chapter, we are repealing Rule 1260-02-.04, the telephone answering services rule, because no one does that anymore. The next one is the repeal of the interpleader form, 1260-02-.34. So the interpleader form is not going away. It'll still be available to individuals on the website for them to download. It's just not required for that form to be in rule, because it's a form and it's not a rule, if that makes sense. The next section is chapter 1260-07, which covers our vacation lodging services. Amending that civil penalty schedule in 1260-07-04. We're removing the schedule and just changing it to the amount of $0 to $1,000. So those are the retrospective rule review package changes that we presented to you previously. And so if everyone is okay with these, I would need a motion to proceed with this so we can have a rulemaking hearing and go forward.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the suggestions made in the, where's my number of this
Oh,
one?
so sorry.
In the red line, wait just a minute. My fingers aren't working. Licensing amendments. Is that clarifying?
Yeah,
it
it's
enough?
just the retrospective rule review package.
Okay.
So Commissioner Smith makes a motion to accept recommendations in the retrospective rulemaking packet. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Moffitt. Is there any further discussion on the rule?
Question.
Commissioner Gwen?
On page 2, or page 2 of what you handed out?
Yes.
Excuse me. The deletion of number 4, is that just going away, or is that supplemented by the Fresh Start Act, or how does that work?
Right, so,
Yes.
in the past, like this rule states that essentially no one, if you've been convicted of, a crime or you're on probation, within 2 years, you're not allowed to apply for licensure. And that, as we have been told, has been too restrictive of a requirement. So individuals are required to appear before us within, if you have a conviction in the past 10 years. So that's still there. It's just removing the bar that's been put in rule stating that you can't apply for 2 years afterwards. 2 years until all of those things have ended.
So there's no waiting period now?
No, there's no waiting period. But
So-
that
But the
information is
attitude-
presented, but that information is presented to you Like when you come in, you'll hear, if you have the documents, you'll see that person's been off probation. If it's within 2 years, that date is provided on the document saying, their probation terminated in January 2024. And so if you were to deny an individual because of a past criminal conviction and you were thought, it's too soon, of course, like if we deny someone, we have to go through the Fresh Start Act and talk about why we think that criminal conviction directly relates to the profession. And so in your decision, you could say, well, you could include that in your decision with other information. But the Fresh Start Act, as it was written, it runs after consulting with the AG. I was looking at this and they thought that this particular provision clashes with it, because the reason that we have it is because we want individuals that do have criminal convictions to be able to re-enter the profession. And this is telling you, 2 years until your probation is over, you can't apply. And that does not go with what the meaning of the statute would be.
So, to be clear then, probation, you could apply for your license one day after probation is over?
Technically, yes.
Okay.
It doesn't happen that often, though.
Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. So we got a second packet. Anna?
I have a question.
Yes.
So this, what's the process once we approve this?
Right, so I will go and get the internal approvals, and hopefully it'll come before you all. The plan is to have the rulemaking hearings in September, because that is what the timing will give us for September.
Thank you.
Okay, the second package is what we talked about last month, related to retirement. And so I attempted to draft some rules based upon our conversation that we had at the meeting. So you'll see the first change addresses 126001-.21. We expressed, after that 120 days of the penalties, after a year, those penalties, essentially an individual wouldn't have to pay them. And so what I have done is I deleted that language that says, but within 1 year. So I think that will fix the issue of the penalties that accrue past that time period for someone whose license has been expired. So we don't have that limitation any further. But what you really want to see is the stuff in blue and highlighted, related to an expired license for temporary retirement. So what it would be a new subparagraph C. And so I think the easiest thing to do is if we look at the current rule as it's written right now, so we can just look at what's being added. And so if you'll go in your books to page 72, you can look and see as the rule as it's written right now. But essentially, what I did was I mirrored the current paragraphs of A and B for C. So if you look at paragraph A in the rule, it says renewal of a license within 60 days of expiration. And then B says reinstatement after 60 days of expiration. So this new paragraph, C, would say reinstatement after licensure lapse while in temporary retirement. So I took the language from the statute, and it says, if a licensee is in good standing with the commission at the time their license is temporarily retired, and as a retiree, they have not paid their licensure renewal fee, causing a lapse, the person may reactivate their license upon the following. And so the first one is the payment of all back renewal fees owed, which is required by the statute. Submission of completion of classroom hours that would have been required if their license was maintained active. And then 3, I included payment of penalties in accordance with the following schedule. So I put there, you'll see that it's highlighted because these are just numbers that I came up with. I wanted you guys to come up with either approve them or not approve them if you were fine with the fee schedule. So this would be fees for people who are in temporary retirement. They do not renew their license, right? And so their license is essentially expired while they're retired. The statute gives you the ability to impose a penalty for that. And so this is what this schedule would be for that penalty. So they're paying the back renewal fees that they missed and then a penalty for that. And so I did for a license expired more than 60 days, but within 120 days, they're required to pay a penalty of $50 per 30-day period. And then for number 2, for licenses expired more than 120 days but less than 1 year, it would be the $50 but plus the $100 at that point per month. And then for a license expired more than 1 year, payment of the penalties included in 1 and 2, and then a penalty of $120 per year. So then we have the language that states, that penalties will be accruing first 30 days, whichever portion, And then number 5 states reinstated license will be issued back to the original expiration date. So are we good with the 50, 100, 120? How do we feel about those numbers? General thoughts, feelings?
Do you want to state what it is now? I think it's important to make that comparison.
Right now, it's $50 and $100. I just added another paragraph for people that are expired more than 1 year, because the statute doesn't provide like a stop point for people that are expired in temporary retirement past like a year. So essentially it could be for multiple years, so that's why I added another paragraph. And we did 120 because the fees, if it's less than 1 year, are prorated by month, and it's easier to do $12 per $10 per 12 months than 100. That requires not clean math.
Or you could do 20.
Huh?
Or you could do intervals of 10.
Or you could do, we could do any of those things, but that's the reason it was set at 120, just in case you're wondering. But those numbers are placeholders unless you're okay with it. But that's what I drafted based upon our conversation from last month.
So a couple of comments. I think the 120 is fine, given that it's stacking on the other penalties that have been accruing. And I don't know the likelihood of how many times we're going to run into a retired license that's been expired for more than a year and imposing this penalty. I just don't know that. If we get flooded with them, then we might have to consider something different, but I don't know that we necessarily need to do more than that at this point. And it might be up to some future commission to decide what that penalty or any modification to that rule anyway. But I don't have any strong arguments against the proposal from council at this point.
And this is just for if they did not want to retest and reapply. After a year, an applicant can retest and reapply and not pay anything. So we're not barring entry into real estate here in Tennessee. It's just for those who.
Is this a lifeline for grandfathered licensees? Is that what this is?
I didn't say that. I did not say that.
Yes.
I have a question. Were you just using your superior vocabulary with expiry instead of expiration? Because I had to look that word up.
I just copied and pasted what has been used in the paragraphs before. I don't like that word. I can change it to expiration, but I don't use that word.
So again, commissioners, council's going to need a motion from us to proceed.
Oh, wait, I just wanted
Oh,
to
more?
talk about
We got more?
the other, that's, everything else is basically the same. But I just wanted to make sure I'm on the record for talking about it. the changes. So the rest of the changes, so this also, we're going to amend paragraph 3 to clarify, the expired for more than 1 year excludes certain individuals. That basically paragraphs A and B of that cover individuals that are grandfathered and in temporary retirement. And then the next provision is 1260.05.12. Those are the same changes that you saw last time. So related to CE. This is the CE chapter.
Any further questions or discussion, commissioners? Floor is open for a motion.
I make a motion that we accept council's recommendation for the red line ruling for licensing. And that was in, hold on just a second. (1260-01-21).
So I did want to clarify something that I did say before last month. So I mentioned that we wanted to get these rules in effect by July 1 of next year, related because we state, like, if you were imposing a new fee, the rules have to be in effect prior to July 1. That's just across the rule. But my understanding is, since these are technically penalties, that would not apply. So if it is after that July 1 date, the penalties would still go into effect, and we wouldn't have to wait until 2026. So these rules and the penalties won't go into effect until the rules are passed, but they can go into effect when they pass, regardless of that July 1 date.
Okay.
So I have a motion to accept council's recommendation for the red line of 1260-01.21. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Torbett. Any further discussion?
One question. And on page 3,
Yes.
where it talks about older license, paragraph 3, where it says, Rule 1260-01.21, it says adding new subparagraphs A, B, and C. There is
Should
no
just be B.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of the motion? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Council, is there any other business for the commission?
No.
Any discussion?
Any discussion?
I do have 3 announcements. The first announcement is that the next TREC meeting will be in August 7th, here in this room. August 7th, 2024. Myself, Anna, and Ross, we will be speaking at the Education Directors meeting with Tennessee Realtors at the Greater Nashville Realtors on July 1st. And lastly, we, as in the commission members and staff, have been asked to speak at the Tennessee Realtors Broker Summit on September 14th. So that's the week after the commission meeting. I believe it's the week after. Let me double check. If you are available to speak at that summit, please let me know, and I will give those names to the folks at Tennessee Realtors. Our commission meeting in September is on the 11th. I may have the date of the broker summit incorrect, but I'll be sending you correspondence in reference to your availability to speak at the broker summit. Actually, the broker summit is in August. Excuse me, I have my months messed up. So the commission meeting is August 7th. The broker summit is on August 14th. If you are available to speak in Franklin at the Tennessee Realtors Broker Summit, please let me know today. Commissioner Smith, okay. Anyone else?
I have to check.
Okay, let me know, and we will participate in their panel discussion on August 14th. Thank you. That concludes my announcements.
All right, commissioners, wish to say anything? All right, without objection, we're adjourned. Travel safe, everybody.
We will miss you, Aaron.
You have another